Okay, I'd like to call tonight's Finance Committee meeting to order. It's 5:33 p.m. All five members are here. We have a quorum. First on the agenda, Finance Committee minutes from June 8th.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve as submitted.
Okay, motion by Arnett,
I would second that.
second by Moldenhauer. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have opening for public comment. Each individual who would like to address the committee will be permitted up to 3 minutes for their comments on agenda items only. Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to for business. We have review and take action, Wisconsin DNR FFP grant application.
Hi there. I'm sorry, but the memo didn't make it into Muni code for some reason. Essentially, as part of the capital request, we have a UTV and trailer and utility truck as part of the request. The DNR has a funding grant available where you can get up to $10,000 towards a project. Obviously, if we apply and don't get it, then not a problem. If we apply and don't fund it through capital, we can deny it at that point. But this is just an attempt to get $10,000 towards the cost of the UTV and trailer project. Essentially, the memo would have said that this is for obviously wild urban interface for grass fires and access to places such as Tivoli Island, Riverside Park, and the interurban trail to allow for fire attack to those tight areas within the city limits that we can't get our normal firefighting apparatus to. And same for, it would have the ability to get patients out of those areas as well. So instead of carrying them out by hand, where we can't get our ambulance to it to move patients, we would be able to utilize this UTV. So I'm just looking for approval to apply for the grant.
I'll move to approve to get it on the table.
Okay, motion by Arnett, second by Smith for discussion. Okay. Go, Mr. Arnett.
So, while not committing yet to the approval of including this item in the capital budget for next year, I don't see a problem with approving the grant application.
Thank you.
Mr. Blanky, go ahead.
Do you have a figure for the total cost of the UTV and trailer?
Yeah, so the project is broken down into a couple things. For the UTV with the mounted pump unit, that's about $45,000 total. And then obviously it doesn't include the trailer or the truck that would also be part of the project as a whole. But this would be $10,000 towards that portion of the project.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, next, B, review and take action, approve ordinance to amend section 76-4, time for payment of taxes of the city of Watertown, general ordinances. So, Mr. Smith?
Move for the recommended approval of the section referenced for this ordinance.
Okay, motion to make the ordinance change, Mr. Blanky,
Second.
and a second. Okay, questions, comments? Mr. Blanky, go ahead.
Just a question on a consistency item in section 1A. It says if they exceed $100, they may be paid to the city treasurer. And then in section under 1A2, it says payment shall be made to the county treasurer. Should that also be city treasurer, or should the first one be county treasurer? Or is it correct that they are different?
It'll be paid to the city treasurer just on the first installment. So I see where you're saying, and we can ask the attorney to make sure that's clear. So the first installment only will be paid in the city. The second installment only will be paid to the counties.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was the intent.
Yeah.
That it wasn't.
I guess we can double check before bringing it in front of council too, and Ally would be here then too, so, okay. Any questions or, Mr. Mullenhour, go ahead.
So the only thing we're eliminating is the April payment, basically.
Yeah, and
And the fact that only the first installment would be made now in the city and any future payment is required to be made to the county.
Right.
So it's two changes.
the first change is that we, 2 installments rather than 3, and the second part is that any second installments have to go to county instead of coming here. They can't come to City Hall, they gotta pay at the county, depending on which county they live in. And I believe when the property taxes bills went out, I believe Mr. Stevens had a note letting people know that this change was coming as well. Okay. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, next, review and discuss initial draft of FY 27 capital improvement plan.
Starting on page 6, going through page 14 is our first draft of the capital improvement plan. We're not looking to do any approving, obviously, at this point. This is to bring to your attention what the total list is so that we have ongoing abilities to go back and forth to the different departments that may you may be interested in garnering more information from on particular items along the way. I'd like to go through some of the pages just to hit some highlights and explanations, just to make sure that you caught some of the different things. It definitely works best in color because of some of the color coding that I use for this. But just to bring to your attention a few of the items. So right at the top of page 6, right at the front title, I indicate in purple ink that any numbers that you see that are left justified or in purple are not included in the totals. And for instance, on the bottom of page 6, the very last item is a $57.19 amount. And please note that that's in purple ink and it's left justified. So that number would not be in the subtotal of the IT systems 135, 126 that's right below it. Okay. Moving on to page 7, there's a few numbers throughout this document that the mayor has indicated would be feasibly his first options to reduce in spending. And so there's a couple of items that we've, along the way, we've split items into 2 parts so that you could see a part that maybe is wishing to be approved and then a part that might not be the first priority on some of those items. Not to say that it wouldn't happen, it's just that maybe it's not going to happen in 27. I should have started by saying the mayor has already gone through the 27 request list and worked with different department heads and moved some of the numbers from the 27 column already over into the 28 or future column. So it's been worked through for this first draft that you are seeing by the mayor with different department heads. Page 8 down the bottom, just a big number. Again, it's purple, left justified. The runway, that would be if the federal grant were to come through, but that would be a source that we would not be funding through borrowing. And also that's why it's left justified, but it's a sizable number there that has not been included in the totals. Same holds true on page 10, playground replacements. There's a $100,000 number. The current year, we borrowed $100,000 for playground equipment, but because of the transition in department heads, that $100,000 has not been spent. And so we still have $100,000 available for next year's playground improvements. And so that's why that $100,000 is not included in the subtotals. Moving down to page 12, and the mayor may have additional comments in this section once we get through it all, but page 12 is the overall infrastructure, street repairs, street reconstruction and the like. And so engineering has provided to us some of the details, starting at the top of that page of 1.3 million, plus a number of other things. If you look at the total of the numbers that are left of the blue box, that's about $2 million, a little over $2 million. We start each year, over the last couple of years, we start with a 1.75 million number as a placeholder, and that's what the blue boxes represent to the right. But that 1.75 is actually closer to 2.1 million if you were to add up those numbers. Then slightly below there, and just as another indication, anytime you see orange cells, these are numbers that were already pre-authorized by some other authorization prior to. So Rock River Ridge infrastructure, for instance, was approved when the development agreement was approved with us and the foundation a year and a half, 2 years ago. So we're just following the schedule on that. Line 217 has an additional $1.75 million for additional road work that could be done. And I've got the comment from engineering to the right there, additional 10,000 linear feet of road work. That would be approximately 20 streets, and that's what the mayor has given to you, a list of some of those streets. This, and Andrew wanted to make sure that you understood, this is not a full replacement work of all 20 roads. It's a varying different degree of work on some of these roads, some less than others with that. Line 218, the expansion of the infrastructure for the Emmett annexation. You approved the borrowing on a short-term basis of $1.1 million line of credit. That's this $1.1 million. And so as it's borrowed through the course of the construction season this year, then this would become then the permanent financing into the future with the expectation that some or all of that would be reimbursed by the property owners into the future. I have to afford the 1.1 million somewhere in the totals, and so that's where this is for reimbursement to take place over future 7-8 years or so on that. Page 13 is then the total of Fund 5 as it's listed for you. $10.787 million is that total. And then down below, in past years, we've tried to keep track of what's that number compared to somewhere in the $4 to $5.5 million range, because that's what typically has been borrowed over the last few years. And so I've got the math there for you, but those are just all what ifs for it. And then a total of the orange column, orange cells in that column, $410,000. That's included in the 10.787 million up above, and then 290,000. Those would represent the brown cells that the mayor has suggested might be some of the first to be cut if we are at the point of cutting things through the course of what your columns show. So those are the comments that I would wanted to give to kind of highlight the incorporation of the full document. The final page represents solid waste and stormwater. So these are from different sources of funding and would not be included in what would be part of the debt levy that would represent what is impact to the tax bill. That's only the first pages and excludes that last page. I'll pass it over to the mayor, see if he has any additional comments that I missed that he'd like to throw to you.
I believe that 1.7 million additional roads was an average of the range we were given.
Yes, the department indicated that it could be anywhere from 1.2 or 1.3 to 2 million. So I chose a middle number to put it on the page. So it could be as low as 1.2, it could be as high as 2. And obviously, a lot of that pertains to what is actually bid out for the work that is entailed.
And some of the involved roads to be pulverized, just chewed up and then used as the foundation, say gravel, some milled and overlaid, some just overlaid, and some just completely taken off the old stuff and put fresh on, depending on what the road was. And I drove around with Stacy and Mark Pitterly and Andrew on a day it was raining and could see the holes that were filled up with water then. So the list that we had was extensive. That's about a quarter of what was on the list that we were looking at. Mr. Knight, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, so again, my understanding this evening, this is really just being presented to us for informational purposes. This is not to take place of the review and comment and discussion and action that would take place during the budget process.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll just give 3 high-level comments. Number 1, directionally, what we're seeing in terms of streets is consistent with what the Public Works Commission has asked our Public Works Director to work on, which is a plan for, short of full reconstruction, how can we get more from our dollars and get more coverage than we have been over the last 10, 15 years on a per year basis. So I'm encouraged to see this list of streets that involves things other than reconstruction. And 2 miles is a lot further than you get with doing full reconstruction with that same amount of money. So this is, directionally, we may decide that the number, some people will be uncomfortable with it, but I think directionally it's the right thing for us to do. The next thing I want to highlight is that for next year, we begin to see our city cost portion of the Main Street project coming due. There's already close to, I think, $1 million worth of work.
800,000, I think, or something.
Yeah,
on there, yeah.
892 plus
Yeah.
some. So that's a big piece of that bill that's already long ago baked in. And then the third thing I would highlight is at the very first of page 6, right at the top of the list there, the city hall work. I'm looking at directionally $6 million over the next 3 years and just thinking that's not something we can take on. And I know there are some immediate needs that need to be addressed. I think we need to be looking at a list that's very focused on the immediate needs and not on a dramatic makeover of City Hall. And that's all I'm going to offer this evening. Again, I'll retain the rest of my comments for the actual budget process.
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Following up on the point that Tony made about being able to do 2 extra miles if we were to take a different approach than the more extensive reconstruction that's been an approach that's been used substantially in previous years. The terminology in the budget here, or the proposed budget up at the top of page 12, the line 203, it calls this 1.3 million street reconstruction costs. Now, is that just a general term for like street maintenance of various types? Or are you actually talking about 1.3 million of street reconstruction?
So what you see represented document this evening has 1.3 million in street reconstruction. We're also doing the underlying water, wastewater and related, and 1.7 million in non-reconstruction street work. So it's an and. It's the 2 things. It's do the street reconstruction at a similar level to what we have been doing for the past few years, and add on top of that that additional 1.75 million for other types of street work.
Under street infrastructure,
Yeah.
which includes everything.
Yep.
Okay, I just wondered how that terminology applied.
Mr. Blanky, go ahead.
So I'll just make this, my street comments brief. I agree with all of that. I'm encouraged to see this. It's the biggest complaint we all get, I'm sure. But the other one, I did want to also comment on the city hall work. I mean, those are some very large numbers. And just wondering if there's any way, obviously, we're not discussing that now, but to look at the possibility of stretching that out over a longer period of time to lessen the impact. I do see the value in doing some of the things that are listed here, but at the same time, we have a very finite amount of dollars, and those are some large numbers and big chunks of our budget. So
So there's a lot of projects over there on those, not for this year coming up, but further down, that could be smaller parts, as you're saying, could be stretched out further. The one that would be the biggest one is actually moving detectives area downstairs into the fires. So that's the big one, is occupying the fire station area. But there are some significant needs that need to be addressed soon. So some of that could be pushed to further years, but some of it can't. And unfortunately, the biggest one is a large one with the police station occupying that area, which will free more room up here. Detectives behind that area there. I believe the other ones can be smaller sectioned out. If you go that route, but the first one is, it's got to occupy that area. Right now, the police are using that bay. And the old entryway to the fire station, someone can, if you, in that area, either you walk in to the right's a police station, right, and the left is a fire station. And straight has a stairwell. And actually anybody that comes in this building can actually have access in the basement up that way. So those both areas have to be locked in case we're gonna be up there. And right now the police are doing zigzag, going around and fobbing in to get their squad cars. So that's working on having those in there, but there's a lot of things that can improve on it. So I'd agree that we could do smaller projects, but the initial one, it's gotta be the police station first. There's things that need to be enlarged and taken care of. The building hasn't been run since it was built. Nothing has been done in there. We can wait for the actual budget process and talk about that more in detail. Mr. Molnar, do you have any questions?
I agree with everything that's been said so far with Alderman Arnett and also Blanky. Stretch your dollars as far as you can. You can only stretch them so far, but you stretch them as much as you can. And I know the police have their need for their room. But, and also the boilers, they had to be done. And I mean, there's things that have to be done. And if there's a need, you have to do it. There's no way around it.
Okay. All right, we'll make some adjustments. Anything else on there? Okay. Mr. Stevens, need anything or add anything? Okay, thank you. No action on there, so next would be D, review and take action, request to pursue new hire positions with grade classification along with grade reevaluations on existing positions. That's your form on D.
I am going to retract and go back to the other one, and that is, are there any comments on what does the bottom line need to be close to? The mayor has the ability to do some more modifications. What's the gut feel for where does that $10.8 million need to be closer to?
So speaking for myself, until I see the whole budget, I can't possibly comment on that.
$10.8 for the whole request right now, you mean, Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Okay. Is that including the Emmett? Because some things are on there.
Correct.
Is it? Okay, so there are some larger numbers on there that have been already approved. We'll have that coming in the next couple of years with the new ladder truck and fire truck as well. So I'm taking it as a try to bring costs down a little bit and maybe spread out is what I got from the elders here, right? Okay, roadworks, so you know, I'll see the amount, the 1.7 million Mr. Stevens has there, that's the amount that city department feels comfortable that they can manage and be able to do some work with that. So if that number's adjusted a little bit, it's gonna be what we can do without having to hire contractors. At least for removal of the old asphalt. Any more comments on that one? We'll continue on with D then. Okay, on the top of that, what's it page is that? Is that page 15? The top has request for new positions. And the bottom is taking staff that we currently have and possibly changing their roles a little bit for maybe getting it regraded. So bringing awareness to everybody. If there's a lot of positions, I think only 3 are on the top that were new that need to be go to grade. The ones on the bottom are all people that are working here currently. And if there's a change in grade, it's just what a staff member or a department head thought it might be. So I'll say like that item 15541, park crew lead. So it's currently at 135 and just that possibly go to 140, but might stay the same. So looking for any guidance. Mr. Arnett, go ahead.
So again, for clarity, what I understand this evening is we're only being asked to approve submitting these to the consultant for either grading or regrading, and does not in any way represent the approval of the position for next year or the approval of the change in the position if it's a current one.
Correct. I would prefer to get all these graded. It'd be hard to, we chose not to grade one and that we wind up getting that position. So this obviously would be easier to get them all graded at the same time. So yeah, it doesn't mean we're putting any of them into the budget right now at this point. There's just also so everyone is aware of the asks of some of the departments as well. As I'll plan to have HR grade them if there's no opposition. Doesn't mean we're going for the change. And there again, they could be graded and come back at what they are currently graded to. Might not be any difference in cost.
Thank you for that clarification, because I was wondering how we could approve positions without the budget.
Just
but
approving the
we're
grading.
Approving the grading of the positions.
Correct.
That is,
And all those police and fire positions are already graded. Those aren't
Mhm.
have to be graded. So just have 3 there on the top that have to be, and then the ones on the bottom.
would you like a motion on this?
I don't. Yeah, we'll take a motion on it, sure.
I will make a motion to submit to HR for grading of the positions listed in the document.
Okay, motion by Blanky. Second by Mollenhauer. Okay, any discussions? Once again, this is only to get the grading done. Okay, all's fair to say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Last, we got to review the 2027. Sorry, I clicked on it. The 2027 budget global payroll assumptions. It's a draft that Mr. Stevens completed last week. We'll go through it, Mr. Stevens.
Yes, so we're looking at page 45 and then 46 following. I initiated this tool a few years ago. For a couple of you that are new to finance this year, you may not have seen this because it's typically a tool that's just in finance and it does not get its way delivered to the budget process. It's just as I call it, a global assumption, global payroll assumption. So just to highlight some of the different things that you've got on this page 45, top left by fund is all of our wages for each of those funds totaling $15.7 million. And then what I call required benefits, that as the wages go up or down, so too these required benefits of Wisconsin Retirement System, Social Security, and Medicare also fluctuate. One can't move except that the required benefits, as the name implies, also moves with them. So you've got a total of the 15.7 plus the 2.6 that is the all-inclusive total wages and required benefits, that if you look at the next set of rows, I've got 4 different rows there totaling 18.33 million, and that's what the 15.7 and the 2.6 equal. In addition to those benefits, if I stay on the left side, left column down below, I've also listed then health, life, and dental, the 3 different insurances that the employer participates with the employee on paying a portion of those. So the total compensation for the citywide then in bold right above the block is 22,069,988. So then looking at some of the rest of it, the number of columns there that start with the heading of 2% all the way over to the 12%, these are all what ifs. It's to do the math for you, if you will. So if we were to say, what if we were to give all employees a 2% raise, then you can see that in first row, Fund 1 non-union wages and required benefits would be an additional $161,000. Okay, that makes sense? If we were to say, well, let's make it a 2.25% instead, then the math is indicating 181,195. Going to the fourth row, all of the other funds outside of Fund 1, General Fund, I've combined together. And so if you were to give a 2% raise to all of our employees, it would be 161,000 for Fund 1, and then 89,000 and change for the rest of the funds, totaling $250,000 for that. Then following that column down, if life insurance had a 2% increase, it would cost us $643. If dental has a 2% increase, it costs us $34.60. So then I've just done the math for us to have what ifs figured out as a means to try to globally represent what do we think the future holds. And so you've got the numbers 2% through 3.78%. Let me stop along the way here. 2.75% I've got as a highlight. The current CPI is currently at 2.9% tracking. And so I chose just the closest of those numbers, or one of the closer, 2.75%. You can see, I'll get to the bottom right corner here in a minute, but I've highlighted that in orange that we'll see here in a second. The 3.78%, why such a funny number, and why do we have that representing for fire and police department unions? The police union has already got a finalized contract. The fire union is underway. So the fire union is not an approval, but the initial numbers that we've got with fire are looking very similarly on the wage side as the police department, and that represents a 2.5% raise on January 1, or the first pay period of the year, and then an additional 2.75% in the first pay period of July. And doing the math, it doesn't equal an exact 5% because of a raise on a raise and all. At the end of the year, it becomes a 5% increase for the next year, but the math works out to 3.78%. So that's the justification for why such a weird number.
2.5 and then 2.5.
2.5 and then another 2.5 in July for the rest of the year. Okay, so it's like half of 2.5 for the second half of the year for that. So that's where the blue and green numbers are represented down the bottom right column. Then for health insurance, I've got the 12% number on the sheet. We're still in the 6th month of our health insurance year. We just had an update with our brokers last week that only had a 3-month year-to-date calculation so far. It takes a couple of months for the numbers to roll out. This first quarter of 2026 is looking much nicer than first quarter of 25 history shows. But it's still premature for us to have any hard and fast number. We're way too early to get a renewal quote. So one of the questions that I ask our broker is, what are your current renew rates? Outside of January 1, July 1 is the second most common renewal for health insurance. And so in working with a broker, the value that, one of the values that we have is for him to be able to tell us what's the rest of the market looking like. And it's currently at a 9% renew rate is what more of his other clients are at currently. So why didn't I choose the 9% number? When we transitioned to Dean Care, we secured a initial quote and then a not to exceed number for year number 2, which is where we are now, and then a not to exceed number for year number 3. And that not to exceed number for year number 3 is 14.9%. Again, our first quarter this year is looking good compared to last year's first quarter. So that's a positive, but that's only 3 out of 12 months. And so I am being conservative with a middle of the road number. And again, these are just estimates is all we're doing at this point. So kind of split the difference between the 9 and the 15 number and came up with a middle of the road 12% that I would feel hesitant to say, oh, just because all the other clients are at 9, we should plan on 9. That to me would be unfortunately too low, and I'd rather be somewhere in the middle and be pleased that we end up somewhere in the middle. So to finish the rest of the sheet, so you understand what is on here in the bottom left, just for kicks, I've given to you what the total of our Fund 1 budget is in its entirety, and that's $21.7 million. And to understand why so much work and effort really needs to go into payroll and compensation costs is that 76% of our budget is payroll related. And because of that last line there that I've listed, non-compensation, 24% of our budget is not related to paychecks or benefits in the course of the year. That's just Fund 1 that is represented in the checked box on the left side. Fund over on the right side, if we were to project out Fund 1 utilizing Mark's estimates only, the initials or all of those highlighted boxes, if wages were to increase 2.75%, if wages were to increase for fire and police, both at 3.781%, which is contract. And then if health insurance for Fund 1, and that's what the $2.5 million number is compared to, if you look at the health insurance column, it's currently 3.5 million. That's including everybody, not just Fund 1. So the Fund 1 portion of health insurance is 2.5 times 12% would be $301,000. So Fund 1 total compensation has an increase approximately of $743,000. I'll stop here before going on to the next sheet to offer any answers to questions you might have.
We're good.
Okay. Moving to page 48 then. The expenditure restraint program, I don't have detailed out here, but my guess at this point in time, because of the two parts that are part of that, the expenditure restraint program calculation is made up mostly for the CPI, and it's a 12-month average increase over the last 12 months of the year through July. So May, June, July, or excuse me, June, July have not been posted yet. So it's currently at 2.9%, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation. The other part is net new construction, and those numbers are not released by the state until the first week of August. So we've got some time before that is there. I have utilized a 3-year look back average to calculate what I have there at the 3.3%. I think that it will be more than this because I believe that we're going to see some of the reaping of the 2025-26 benefits of construction. But this is kind of where it's at as of June. And as soon as another month goes by, the CPI will have been changed as well. So there's an additional shared revenue for sales tax adjustment that was part of the shared revenue changes that took place in the state government 2 years ago. I expect about $25,000 more on that. That helps reduce the tax levy revenue side of things, but it does not impact the increase in our spending. And our increase in our spending is limited to, as I've got the note, whatever the ERP total is. And so approximately 717,000 at this time. So in the middle of the sheet, the first 4 numbers have moved from the prior page, 45. Those numbers I threw those numbers over from the prior estimates. The one that is on this sheet that was not on the prior sheet is a wage increase to try to implement more of the McGrath study. The amount that we subtracted last year in the last iteration of the budget was $106,000. And for the most part, it was a savings in those that are grades 170 and higher. You may or may not recall that McGrath had suggested a 10% differential in those grades. I moved it back down to a 7% differential in order to afford what was approved eventually in last year's budget, the current year's budget. And so this would be to attempt to incorporate that back in place to move those higher grades back to a 10% differential to help with some of the compression issues that we have on an ongoing basis. And as well, part of that 106,000 was for some increases in the grades. I'll just repeat myself until we get it fixed. 55% of our employees were not paid on the step that they should have been when we transitioned to the new pay table. And so this is an attempt to see what can we do to move forward with that 55% of those that were not paid based on where their steps should have deserved. And that's incorporated into some of that $106,000. The difference, obviously, is a negative number. If you take the total of page 45 plus the increase on grades and some modification to McGrath pay, total compensation expense anticipated increase of 849, and we have 717 in which to play with. And oh, by the way, the non-payroll expense totals that I had in the bottom left of the prior page is again $5.178 million. And we haven't asked our department heads to do any budgeting yet, but sure shooting something's going to have to increase. And it's just part of the equation that I have to present to you as a first draft of where it looks like our budgeting will be this coming year.
Anybody, any questions or comments?
You have any good news for us?
And it's a lot better shape than it was last year at this time. So I just told Mr. Stevens going over the numbers. It's a lot,
No,
it looks a lot better than last
I
year.
recognize it's in a better position than it was at this time last year.
Okay. You good, Mr. Smith? Okay.
What's that?
Are you good? Any questions? Are you good?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm good, but appreciate the presentation.
Okay. Just making sure. I don't want to move on, make sure everyone's in a good place right now. Or understand everything. I think Mr. Steven, you put 12%. He says kind of right in the middle of where we are right now, and what the max is we can pay, right? So you put 12% as a middle ground, that could increase
For the health
the
insurance,
health
yeah,
insurance. Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as expensive as it is, it's one of the last numbers that we end up getting to fill in the budget when it happens.
Yeah. I think last year we had a little good news. It wound up being a little lower than what we were expecting. Okay. You good, Mr. Mullenhour?
We've got the bad news now. Where is the good news?
We continue to work on, what can we do on health and dental, just for what it's worth, because you're looking for something good. Our broker has suggested to us that we may be able to cut out some of the profit that comes in the dental insurance program by going to a self-insured process. I'm very familiar with self-insurance for health insurance, and I hesitated when they indicated that idea, but they've relayed to me that there's not some of the reinsurance costs that are involved, and we would be able to continue to stay with Delta Dental. So we are looking into that as a possibility. It's not a big expense. You can see our total dental is 173,000, so we're not talking a lot. But that's one. And then on health insurance, we are also going to pursue the addition of a different type of plan. We have an HMO and a PPO currently, and to add to it a high deductible health plan as a third option for our employees. And that may be of savings for those that depend on going on that. If you've got a relatively healthy family that doesn't use health insurance, they may opt to do that, and it would be a savings for both the employee and for the employer. So we are working to pursue those two.
Okay, making sure. Okay, if there's nothing else, move on. Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
Motion by Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Blanky. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.